Good evening. It is Tuesday, March 22nd, 2022, and this is the regular planning meeting of East St. Paul Council. We do have an agenda in front of us, I will mention to Council that we can stroke one item off with consent. Our in-camera item regarding personnel is not ready to bring forward tonight. So that's the only item that there'll be an amendment for. And if I could please get the resolution read, please, for the agenda.
Be it resolved that the agenda be adopted as presented or amended. Sorry.
Moved by Postuma, seconded by Duval. Call for the question. All in favor? So we do have one member of council this evening that is absent, Councillor Devlin, and one member that is joining us via video this evening, Councillor Horechko. So Councillor Horechko, well, I guess when there's a vote, if you can he put his own mic on, or do you have to control it?
Control it, so he's on.
Okay, so I can't see him.
Okay. No. Oh, I heard him.
All right, so when there's a vote, I'll try to remember to give a pause, Suzanne, so you can unmute him and we can hear his vote. Thank you.
Okay.
Just remind me if I forget, please, just to catch him. All right, with the adoption of the agenda, we have two sets of minutes to confirm. The first is March 7th, special meeting. Were there any changes to those minutes? Hearing none, could I get the mover, please? I'm sorry, could I get the resolution read?
Be resolved that the council meeting minutes of the March 7th, 2022 special meeting of council be approved.
Thank you. Moved by Duval. Can I ask you, are you able to leave his mic open? Okay. Moved by Duval, seconded by
Horechko.
Thank you.
There he is.
Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
And next item is the March 8th, 2022 regular planning meeting minutes. Any amendments to these?
Yeah, unless I'm looking at it wrong. The resolution item 6.1.5 doesn't record a vote result. At least it doesn't on my copy here.
I would assume it's not a rezoning, so I'm sorry, I don't think somebody would have had to call for a vote. Did you do so?
I think we did, didn't we? Or did we not?
Prairie Ridge?
We can double check our notes, but I don't believe that there was a recorded vote requested for that.
Which item is that for? Could you just give me the number again, Brett?
In the minutes, it's 6.5.
The resolution for Prairie Ridge? Yeah, I don't recall anybody asking for a recorded vote on.
I don't believe there was one.
It doesn't say carried either.
It doesn't say carried?
Let's say 5 or carried.
Oh, gotcha.
I'm sorry, I meant
That fixed.
no result, yeah.
Sorry, the result, yeah.
The result.
Yeah, good catch. All right, with that amendment, no other amendments? So we have the resolution on the floor. It's been moved and seconded.
Nope.
Yeah.
Okay, let's call for the resolution.
Resolution was. Anyway.
I think you read it.
Did you read the resolution?
You read the resolution.
She did.
I didn't. Yeah, I need to read this one.
Okay.
Be it resolved that the council meeting minutes of the March 8th, 2022 regular council meeting be approved.
Thank you. Moved by Postuma, seconded by Duval. No further comments? Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
That's carried. All right, we have two public hearings this evening. The first is a variation order for 2390 Bricker Avenue. And I will let the CAO please read an overview of public hearings.
Council wishes to thank you for taking an interest in what is happening in your municipality by attending this evening. The purpose of these public hearings is to receive representations from the applicant and any persons who wish to make them concerning what is proposed. We will hear first from the applicant, then from those present who wish to make representations, starting with anyone who wants to speak in favor of the proposal, followed by those who are opposed to or object to the proposal. At the end of these other presentations, the applicant will have an opportunity to respond. If anyone intends to make a presentation for any of the hearings scheduled for this evening, please record your name and contact information on the appropriate sign-in sheet located at the desk as you enter the council chambers. Applicants must also sign in. If you haven't signed in, please do so now so you have an opportunity to speak to council. At the end of each presentation, the members of council may ask for clarification from the speaker on any fact or issue, but will not enter into a debate. Persons speaking must address the chair. If they have questions that they think the applicant should answer, they should raise them in their presentation to the chair. The applicants will have an opportunity to respond to questions when the other presentations are finished. If the hearing is not completed today, whether because we run out of time or further information is to be provided, then we will adjourn the hearing. If we adjourn, we will tell you at this hearing the date for the continued public hearing. There will be no other notice given of the date. Even if all the representations are completed today, we may not be making our decision today. Until our decision is made, there can be no further communication of any kind with council or the members about the proposal. When council makes its decision, all persons who made a representation at the hearing will be notified. Tonight, we have a conditional use and variation. When council makes its decision on the application, it is final. There is no appeal.
Thank you. Now, when you catch your breath, if I can get the resolution to open the public hearing.
Be it resolved that council open the public hearing of council for variation order 21-2022, 2390 Bricker Avenue.
Thank you. Can I have a mover, please? Duval? Astumas? Question, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. And the public hearing is open. Thank you. Great. I will turn the floor over now to our planning department, Red River Planning District. Our planner, Femi Ojo, is going to walk us through the application this evening.
Good evening, council members. This evening, we're going to be presenting the first variance application of BO 21-2022. The location is 2390 Bricker Avenue, road number 95907. The application is seeking, the applicant is seeking 3 variances associated with the establishment of an accessory structure, a garage on site. The table you are seeing currently is the variance table that shows what is being proposed and what the zoning bylaw requirements are. First, the applicant is proposing a 2,500 square foot maximum garage, while the zoning bylaw requirement is 1,200 maximum. Secondly, the applicant is proposing this garage to be at a maximum of 22 feet instead of 20. And then lastly, the proposed accessory structure is going to be located beyond the front sight line of the principal building. The way this is written in the zoning bylaw is if you have an accessory structure, it has to align with the front sight line of the principal building, but this one is right projecting beyond that. This is the site subject for site showing the existing context in terms of the surrounding area. It's a single family dwelling with a lot of vegetation surrounding the front area. This is a site plan and the building elevation in terms of what is being proposed. I'm just going to point to this particular site plan here that shows the dimension of the building itself. It's a 50 by 50 building with an unenclosed section to the west. So the site plan to this section of it shows the existing site, the existing building, and what is being proposed currently. Information for council's consideration. This proposal is mostly for storing cars according to the letter of intent, household items, yard maintenance equipment. There is also a proposal for a mini exercise area. The subject property is surrounded by heavy vegetation, which provides some degree of screening in terms of what is being proposed right now. And I'd like to let council know that the site, the subject property is a little larger than 2 acre minimum around total requirements. Aside from what is being proposed about the 3 variances, there are no other associated variances with this proposal. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Council, any questions for Mr. Ojo? Councillor Costumes?
Yeah, can you back to the floor plan? So the 50 by 50, I see 3 doors. What's the shed on the angle coming off of? Is that an additional one added on also?
This one here?
Yes.
That is a carport. It is a carport which is unenclosed.
Carport.
Oh.
Yeah, it was in the package that it was just like a windbreak carport.
Yeah, so they're having a carport and that 25, the 50 by 50, the 2,500 square feet, that's just the main floor.
That's the main
That's
floor.
not including the second floor.
Yes.
So there's could be another whatever 1,500 or whatever. So it's like 4,000 square feet.
And Councillor, the 50 by 50 does not include the carport as well.
Oh, and it doesn't include the carport or the second floor.
So that would be 12 by 50. So 600 square feet.
So we're looking at 3,100 square feet for cars and then a second floor.
Yeah, just for council's.
So there, people won't be able to hear you. Yes.
Sorry, I forgot about that.
Yep.
So yes, so the 50 by 50 is just for the building itself enclosed by the walls. 12 by 50 is that carport or lean-to, whatever you want to call it. We did not include that in the 2,500 square foot calculation because the bylaw is a little bit vague on how you determine building area. In fact, it doesn't actually give a definition for building area, but it gives a definition for dwelling areas that we use as a clue, where it says it's everything enclosed within outer walls. So that's where we got the 2,500 square foot, but disclosed on here that I'll call it the lean-to. Technically, it's not a carport. You define a carport as being attached to the main house. So let's get a little wonky in the definitions.
And it doesn't include the second floor when they talk about garages.
Correct. It's just a footprint.
So they're keeping another 2,000 square feet up there or whatever. It doesn't state exactly. I didn't see it. Okay.
Sorry, Councillor DeVille, did you have your hand up?
No, I'm fine.
I did. Could you, Femi, could you bring up that the overview from Google, the map overview?
Yep.
So in proximity to this, and I know you want, I don't know if you have it exactly, but could you point with the cursor where this building would be built? I wasn't 100% sure on that description that was included.
Here.
In front of the house.
Yeah, in front of the house, yeah.
All right, thank you. Great, any other questions? All right, we have one person in chambers that signed in to speak to this, and it looks like one person is online for information. I think that's what we're doing now. We have a separate sheet for online folks. That's kind of what I have here. All right, Brian Rochelle. Brian, are you the applicant? Yeah. Do you want to come up to the podium here, and you can tell council about your application? Anything else you want? Anything you want us to know in consideration?
Basically, just need a grab the storage there. The one in the house there is already full with stuff, and additional is needed. I think for the second floor there on the small print there, it might say the square footage of, I think it was 1260 or 1200 possibly, that for the second floor, how much possible square footage would be on the second story, on the second level for storage there. So if your question was 2,500 for the 50 by 50, and then the second floor was, I think, 1,200 or so.
And then 600 on them.
And the lean-to was 50 by 12 feet wide, just the full length of the garage there. Yeah, so basically it's for storage there. I guess it seems big when you say 2,500 square feet, and the actual size limited is 1,200 square feet. I was just at my dad's place. He has a 36 by 36, and you put some vehicles inside of it, and a tractor and an ATV and a sled, and it's already full of stuff there. So I was looking to do it once, and once you're putting all the services in and putting all the concrete in and stuff, to have it the adequate size, because everybody knows garages fill up with stuff very quickly. The reason for the height for wall space for animal heads, my dad and I are into hunting and stuff. We've got quite a collection that's at his place, because I currently don't have anywhere to put it in my house right now, which is the reason for the garage, as well as storage there, and storage for my camper on the inside there as well, there for the tall door there, and my wife's vehicle right there. So that's basically the reason I guess we're here for the variances there, why I wanted to build it in the front there. You can see the driveway comes down there, and it's got the pad there in front there, which would, in the clump of bush there, would actually be using the existing driveway once it's cleared out there and stuff to, save a lot of the cost for concrete and gravel going down there in the front of the property. Bill, the draftsman there, who drew up some plans that we thought about putting it in the back there. Then we started doing the numbers, which was going to add $30,000 to $50,000 for services and other infrastructure to go in to have it on the backside of the house there. I guess on some other side notes there, there's the locations there and the structure of what my intent is there. The pool that you see there looks nice there, but it's actually an above ground pool in the line of shot. We just moved into the house this summer. So the pool is going to be removed there. It's falling apart, and the deck is falling apart there. So that will not be there. I think they said that counts as an outbuilding, and you're not allowed outbuildings. There would only be the one that I'm proposing here. So the pool would be gone in the back there. That being said there, I talked to either neighbor on either side there, and I told them my proposal about, building a garage wall on the east side. There's got a bunch of garages in front there, and kind of talked to the trees there as well too that he has, but the other neighbor wants to build a garage. The clump of trees there is full of all of his rusted lawnmowers that are essentially junk now, rusting away and stuff like that, that he says he's looking to build a garage as well too, when he gets a chance there. So the neighbors are in favor of my proposal there. They wrote a letter just saying that they're okay with it. I guess included he might have them with facts that I
received the letters.
I gave it to Red River Planning up there. I have everything in paper copies as well. I didn't realize it was all online. I'm kind of old school here. As well as a bunch of pictures that I just went and took today of other buildings on McGregor Farm Road and Bowen Road with other large structures, same as I'm going to be wanting here. I'm not sure if you're interested in seeing these pictures that I have here. I don't know what the protocol is with COVID here. If I didn't realize it should have been digital, but they're here if you would like to see them, or any other plans or anything like that. Letters from the neighbors signed. These ones are just other pictures.
Just like pass them down.
36 by 36 grads in her house.
Somebody wants it.
Okay. stuff here. It's 2 copies of everything here. They summarized the letter of intent there. Kind of just so these are the neighbors. Here. This one is showing a depiction of where it would be placed if it was behind the house. And I guess no variance in here.
Some of the neighbor sheds.
Yeah, so you just basically up there. Okay. Yeah.
Motion. Yeah. So, it's his dad's garage. Thank you. I think this is a car.
Ryan, do you have any other outbuildings on the property right now?
The pool there and that one in the corner, that little white one there.
Yeah.
So that one is a small building there. I'm not sure the size of it there. It can be torn down. It's nothing important.
But anything in relation, I know you said the pool's coming down, but are there any outbuildings in related to pool equipment or anything? Are you planning on putting another pool in?
Maybe in 10 or 15 years we can afford one. I don't know, not anytime soon. No, kids are too small for it, and not in the future yet.
Yeah, you said there's one shed to be torn down.
Or make it small enough. Like, it's just good for gas cans. It's full of mice. It's not a good building. Like, it just came on the property there. That white one on the west side there. Kind of.
They all come to your total though. That's part of it. You're allowed like 1,200 square feet.
Okay.
So that any other buildings all add up.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, it can come down. And, yeah. Like if I needed it, like it's nice.
Your house has what? Just a single car garage?
It's just a single car garage attached to it on the front there. Yeah. One door, no mat or not heated or anything like that. Sorry, I was incorrect on the second floor. There is 1650 there. Was but was the square footage of the second floor. 1650.
1650.
Yeah, that's what was better in here.
Can I ask why? I know you touched on it a little bit. My concern with this application hinges on the fact that you want this garage in front of your primary dwelling, which is not a usual occurrence. Usually they're put at the back. So you did mention the cost of putting in a driveway is one of the factors you considered.
That's the primary one, yeah. Yep. You lot to clear out the trees and put the driveway down and concrete all the way in the back there. Yeah, that would be the main one for it being in front. My first choice. But the other sheet of paper there, you might have saw there, we have it drawn up in the back as well too there. Did you see where it was proposed in the back there?
Yeah.
That was another option there that we thought if the front wasn't worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of my concerns. So we don't have them out front. They're a precedent setting. Everybody's going to want to put them out front. In some larger areas that aren't, but some that don't. And the size, like total square footage would be upstairs, and the length is 4,750 square feet. That's double of even if you had the two 1,200 that allowed. We're looking at deleting that to just 1,200. We haven't got to that yet. So 4,750 square feet, and you have a garage at your house, like that's double and triple the size of some houses.
It is a 2-acre lot, and we live in the country over there. It's just a big farm field and a lot of other buildings that are on large properties with other large garages over there.
I looked at, they're mostly 2-car garages.
Yeah, there's some
like yours
there as well too. There's like getting, you know, RVs and stuff like that.
This would be the biggest one I've ever seen.
Councillor DeVille.
Some of those buildings are like almost that long as well too, though, when you know, the actual physical length, like 40 feet by 40 feet, or 45 by 45. When you add 5 feet, which is this much on each wall, that adds a tremendous amount of square feet. So it seems big, but it's square footage wise, but like this is 5 feet, and, you know, it's just a little bit more room in the garage is what I'm seeking for. To
maybe you have a lean-to also another 12 feet, so you're 62 feet by 50.
The lean-to is just kind of, you know, like it is what it is. It's just a nice place to get out of the sun and hang out, and you know, not every vehicle rained on. It doesn't need to go in the garage every single day.
Councillor DeVille.
Yes, I'll ask our planner a question. This is zone RR2, I believe, this particular area. Okay, so it's 2-acre lots. Now, a lot of those pictures are passed around. I don't know what the zoning was, what they are, where they're located. Now, they are allowed, I understand, under the bylaw for rural route 2-acre lots that rural residential, that they're allowed 1,200 square foot outbuilding, but 2 of them?
Yeah.
What about rural residential 5 acres? Is it the same? Do you know?
No, that one's a larger. I think that one's like 2,200 square feet and allowed 2, but let me just double check.
So there is a distinction between 2-acre lot and a 5-acre lot for building accessories.
Yes, that's right. The RR5 zone allows you to have a 2,200 square foot accessory building.
2.
Okay.
2 of them.
Now, I believe in all those pictures that were passed around, showing some large garages, and you can't really measure anything from the picture, but I don't know if I've seen one as big as 2,500 square feet. However, they were all located behind the house, okay? The bylaw says you cannot project, if I read it, the lettering of that bylaw is a little bit confusing, but I believe it means a projection of the accessory building cannot be beyond the plane of the front wall of the house. Okay. The projection, in this case, the whole building is beyond the front wall of the house. I'm having difficulty with that. Now, there's a reason why we would allow 2 1,200 square foot buildings instead of 1 2,400 square foot buildings. It always boils down to appearance, of course. All these bylaws are based on appearance. The reason why, because 2 buildings, which don't necessarily have to be located together, are always less of a visual impact than a one large 2,400, 2,500 square foot building. That's why the bylaw is there. We have in times past approved larger than the bylaw buildings, but not up to that size as I can remember, certainly. And we have, as far as I know, we have very rarely approved anything projecting beyond the front wall. In fact, I can remember clearly one proposal, one application that we flatly turned down because of that reason. Comments. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Question for the applicant?
Well, I guess I can repeat the same question. I know it's more expensive to go in the back, but that's where everybody else puts their buildings.
Yep, no, I understand. I wasn't really aware that it was a problem to build it in the front. I am aware now.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why I had the kind of backup plan in the back there as well as a proposal to see. Yeah.
Okay.
Councillor Horechko, do you have any questions?
No, I agree with Councillor Duval. I mean, I'm not too crazy about it being in front of the house. For the extra cost, I mean, I would rather see it where it's supposed to be, behind the house. And that would be about it, basically, from my side of it.
Great, thank you. We do have one person online. Sorry, thank you, Ryan. If we do speak with anybody else, or we have another question, I'll ask you to come back up.
Okay, sure.
Thank you. Suzanne?
They're not on, they're no longer on.
Okay. Was there anybody else who didn't sign in that wishes to for this application?
Information.
For information?
Yes.
Okay.
I reserve the right to make a decision.
I can't hear you, first of all.
I signed for information, Kelly, and I'd like to reserve the right, once I gather the information, you can say yes or no.
Okay, the time is now. You've gathered all the information?
I want to speak.
Okay, come on up. Mike's yours. Can somebody get this sign delegation in first?
Members and Kelly. Also, I'd like to welcome the gentleman to the neighborhood. I'm surprised I'm right across the road. You approach the neighbor on to the left and to the right. I've been there 35 years. I got a driving range. I'm not hiding it. I'm wide open. You can see everything I do. I'm not, whatever the council suggests, I can see the size and all that. I don't have any problem with anyone doing anything. I try to help everyone I can, being in the health development myself. I'm approached, like I said, he approached the two neighbors, didn't talk to me. I guess he moved in July or August. I'm surprised at that. Anyways, my concern is he bought the house, and obviously, if you're looking at it when you buy a house, it wasn't adequate for his needs. He's got a lot of equipment and whatever, lawnmowers. I know about lawnmowers and that. They don't rust that often. That's what they're made for. They're made to cut with wet and dry. A lot of that, some of the stuff doesn't have to be really necessarily stored. I'm surprised at the size. Like I said, I'm not saying a yes or no, but what really bothers me is if you look around and even some of those pictures you might have produced, all these big buildings, even this neighbor at 2400, which you referred to, his neighbor, Lawrence Morris was the mayor. I approved that you should expand his garage, providing you're running a business there. I have pictures and video because I put video equipment because my place has been vandalized. He's continues to build pallets. I don't mind if this gentleman needs that room. It's a huge amount of business. And what about fire and safety and building things? That's what I'm concerned. Is he paying, if he's running commercial business out of there, without paying business tax, I find driving down McGregor Farm Road and Ricker, there's 2360, there's 10 cars in the yard every day. I thought there was a Motel 6 or something. I thought it was a residential area. 2105, he's running a rental property, he's renting it, and he's fixing cars. A lot of these businesses, if you go down Wenzel around the corner there across the perimeter, these people are running businesses, and I don't see any business license. I don't know if they're paying business tax. I know it's private information, but as a businessman, I want the ability to compete fairly in the year 2022.
Mr. Maskew, if you could keep your comments specific to the application that's in front of us.
I'm making a statement that I don't mind if he's going to build these businesses, whatever he's building, whatever he's doing, steering all his equipment. It's like a 4,000 square foot. To me, that's already like a business already. He might not be storing whatever he's storing. I'm surprised though why he would buy the house originally and want to expand it to such a huge garage. When you originally bought it, you see what you got there. You see what you got there. And I'm surprised too. Like I said, I'm out there every day. I'm not hiding anything. He didn't approach me. I'm surprised. So like I said, I'm holding my judgment whether I agree or disagree, but as long as there's no commercial activity going on, and I stress that very important. Because I want everyone to pay, if they're running businesses, which I find a lot of businesses in that area, or big garages, people are running, I see backhoes, water trucks. I see people conducting businesses with no business tax or anything. That really bothers me as a businessman. And even on 2829 Rebecca Farm Road, I'm still trying to find out 2 lanes construction, how since 2015, I'm still trying to find out how much business tax the guys pay. Paul Bell no longer works for Renewable Planning. I phoned Derekino, he says, we've got to ask the East St. Paul. My concern, like I said again, I don't mind. If this guy needs a big building like that, we bought the house, he's seen the size, now he wants the big garage or whatever he's building there. It's bigger than his house. To me, that's a guy with a lot of money, I don't know, as far as I'm concerned. And if he needs a building that big, why did he buy the house, such a small house with all that equipment? Okay, thank you for listening to me, and I'm sorry I don't mean to be laughed at or anything. I'm just trying to stay competitive in the year 2022, and I'm struggling to do that and do it fairly. If that's the way, if RM here agrees with whatever size is, aesthetically, if you set a precedent, and obviously this gentleman took pictures of all buildings around the area, so it's there, here, this guy's got a building, this guy's got a building, yeah. A lot of these guys, even the guy at 2400, he's building pallets and he's told he couldn't. So I'm concerned from the business point, I'm concerned about business tax.
Understood. Thank you for your comments. Great. Is nobody else here speaking to this application? All right, Ryan, come on back up. We always let the applicant have the last word. And do you want to make any comments in relation to anything you heard?
I can say that I'm not operating a commercial business. I just work for an airline here. No businesses are going to be operated in there. Looking for storage. That's the primary intent for this. And I guess the size is a concern. Everyone brought that up. 2,500 square feet, a 50 by 50 garage is, like you said, the biggest you've ever seen in this area. This yard that we bought here, this property was our dream property. We don't plan on moving here anywhere where we love it here. It's central to the city. It's got a great view of the farm field in the back there with the deer and coyotes running around there and stuff. So we like the location. We wanted to do it once right and, you know, spend the money and, you know, get what we need and enjoy it for the next however many years is the plan here. But with the size being a problem here and the location, my next question is what happens if I decide to apply for smaller? This will take another couple months if we have to meet at these meetings all the time here, move the location to the back there. This garage, which is a garage, it might not even get off the ground this year. What is the like the protocol with that there? Like I would need the 2 stories for the storage and just vehicles in there, tractor and ATVs and all that stuff there. But that is kind of the smallest that I could get it down to 50 by 50 with the dealing with Bill there. We drafted this up here to kind of fit everything in there with what my needs are. So if we start shrinking this down even by 5 feet, here's 5 feet, one wall, 5 feet this way, that's another wall. It's not very much space, brings the square footage tremendously down. But then it inhibits 3 doors in the front there and kind of like, then I got to almost start all over again. So I don't know what to say or, you know, that's where I'm kind of at right now.
Understood.
I would like to get this going this year, but this stuff takes time, I understand, and money, and variance applications, non-refundable.
Well, in consideration, you're asking for something that is far outside of our current zoning bylaw. So, I mean, from a standpoint of understanding the scope of the application, you're asking for something significantly outside of what we do normally. But I do understand that the sensitivities and the busyness of Red River planning building has taken off. So I totally understand your concern about how do I change it right in midstream without going back to start zero. And maybe I can ask Red River Planning if they have any suggestions. If council is not feeling that this application is going to pass this table, that what are the alternatives, especially from a standpoint of not shutting this one down and leaving this open to whether the applicant can amend it or whatnot. But I'll throw that over to you, Derek.
Right, for sure. I guess just there's a few questions in there. The first one would be from the applicant of if not this, then what could be approved. And council unfortunately can't answer the sort of the what ifs. They can only legally deal with what's placed before them in terms of a proposal. In terms of changing this application, if we wanted to do that and come back to council, it's essentially a new variance application. There's the same fees that are involved to bring it back. So there's no real cost savings or anything that our office can do in that. I completely appreciate the building season coming up. It's upon us, and timelines. I guess all of that I could offer, and once again, it comes down to personal preference as well as financial implications. But what is allowed on the property are 2 accessory buildings, no larger than 1,200 square feet each, and no taller than 20 feet. So if you were to come into our office to make an application within those parameters, you wouldn't have to come back to council for a variance. We would be able to issue a building permit. But I completely understand that may not be in the cards, so to speak, in terms of space, as well as I note that there's a taller garage door for, I guess, an RV or something like that. That might not work out. So that's sorry, that's probably
no, but that clarifies it for the applicant. I mean, it really, and for council. From a standpoint of, and Ryan, you can have a seat again, give council a chance. We've heard from you again regarding the concern you had about business, and maybe I'll just open it up on the floor for further council discussion. As I brought forward earlier, I'm really opposed to the garage accessory structure being placed in front of homes. And I think I think it's a good example of what happens if we allow this to go in front. The next application, we bring in a picture of Ryan's house to us and saying, here, you made an exception here. And that's what always happens, right? People look for precedent. They look for what's happened around the community. And we do have a few examples of that, but very, very limited. And we're outbuildings that have been there for some time. So that's a different question. I'm less concerned about the size of it, only because it is an extremely heavy treed area. There's nothing in that overhead. I mean, that's a pretty treed area. And I understand we're looking at our own zoning bylaw as it is for accessory structures, because I guess it depends on personal taste, but if we're allowed 2 1,200 square foot accessory structures in the community, but we're not allowed 1 2,400, let's say, people look at that and go, well, that doesn't really probably make a lot of sense. And often some people like the aesthetic of a single building versus 2 buildings. So I have less concerns about the size of the building and the variance for the extra 2 feet. I'm again not concerned, but I am absolutely opposed to it being in front of the residents for that variation. So I'll throw that open on the floor for discussion.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. It sets a precedent, and then you're getting it down to smaller lots, and then they want to put it in front, and then on they have the garage going up. I also concerned with the size. Probably not something like 50 by 50, but then it's a 2-story. Now there's another 1,600 feet above. I know he says he's staying there, but down the road, if he moved away, now someone moves in and they can run business out of there or whatever. That's a very big building. And then the extra 600 on the side, that's 4,750 square feet. To me, that's a lot of, and he has a garage on the house. you know, that's double the size of most houses. I know we've done some 2,200. I think we did a 2,200 square foot, but it was one floor for storage once before. With the 2-story, I know it's, you know, I'm less concerned with the tree lot, but I'm still concerned. I don't know if you deleted the carport or whatever, but I'm still concerned with the size also.
Yeah, Councillor Dale.
No, I agree with you, Madam Mayor. The building being in front of the front plane of the house is something we have not allowed. As for aesthetics, and to your point, yes, we allow one, especially a glaring example like this, which is such a large building, then we'll be facing the same thing again and again. I too am not all that concerned about how many square foot the footprint is, but as you point out, there is a matter of ethics, and I believe that 2 buildings at 1,200 is more pleasing than one at 2,400 or 2,500. Whatever. They don't have to be in the same location, so it's not going to look like a street of buildings. It can be in a different location, and perhaps the applicant, having built one, will pause quite a while before he builds the second one. But even at that, they should not be in the front of the house, beyond the front plane of the house. So,
Councillor Gretschko, any comments?
So I'm fine with the 2,500 square feet. 1,200 or one at 2,500 is not a big deal, but I'm totally against it being at the front of the house. Has to be in the rear of the property. That's it.
All right, thank you. So, Mr. Planner or Madam CAO, by way of the resolution, is it all variances together, or is it one at a time?
It's one application, would be one resolution, but it's completely up to council as to what you want that resolution to be. So there's 3 things being asked here. If council wants to approve this in part, you're allowed to do that. Conversely, you are also allowed to add conditions of approval if you think they're appropriate. I'm not trying to guess what you want, but I heard that the tree areas is important, that sort of thing. If that's something you want to make sure that it stays there, then that's fine. If you don't want the lean-to part of it, you could always make that a condition. If you wanted to limit any future buildings, that could be a condition. We've had other councils do that. We're allowed to have, in this case, 2 buildings at 1,200, and someone wants to do one at 2,400. Past councils have said, that's fine, but this is your one shot. You don't get to have another one at 1,200, just adding to that square footage. So you have a few different options in front of you.
Yeah, and I more so for I am prepared to vote to support the application, the 2 variances on the height and the size, but I'm not willing on the
location of it.
The location. I'm also, what we've done in the past is we've also said that because this is a large ask, and so I would be willing to vote on that, but it would be on the condition that the other shed is taken off and no further sheds are added, because it's a one ask. It's like, you know, you're kind of rolling the dice and taking the chance, and you take off any other outbuildings and can't build anymore as a condition on the property. I would want those conditions on it. But my question goes back to, how would we word the resolution so that allows me to vote in part? And I don't know how the rest of council will ultimately vote on this, but how would we separate those out?
Sure, we can, if we can take a recess, we can always come up with some language if that's an option council wants to hear.
Certainly, but before we do that, let's make sure we capture any other, just to see if the conditions of the other sheds, no additional sheds, is added to the resolution. Is council okay with those 2 additions? I
agree. The 2 variance requests, the maximum height and the building area, I don't have a problem with that. It's quite a large building, but it is the location.
I meant the condition, the other conditions about removing any other outbuildings from the
Yes,
property.
I would agree with that.
And that
Me too.
and no future would be built.
Oh, that would stand to reason, yes.
Well, yeah, okay.
Now, Madam Mayor, just a question for council, because every council has their different preferences. You can have those as conditions of approval as separate line items, or you could also require, or sorry, alternatively, you could require that the applicant enter into a development agreement that outlines there's no more additional buildings and that sort of thing.
I'll ask our planner, which
those are two different ways to go about it.
Sure.
Sorry, I'm just going to say that the pros and cons are that listing it as just a plain condition on the on such an approval is a pretty quick and easy way to do it. It doesn't cost anyone any more time or effort. The con is that in 10, 15, 20 years, sometimes those things are lost in the shuffle. If someone comes in for future building permits, they're not always documented really well. If it's in a development agreement, that's registered on title and that's always caught. But there's more time and effort with and money with them. So little food for thought. So.
most of the time it's caught.
Okay, most of the time it's caught.
I've been speaking to our lawyer recently about this actually, because there is something that we're trying to enforce and we only have it in a development agreement and not on the conditions of approval. And he indicated if we had those on the conditions of approval, much easier for our bylaw to enforce. As long as we don't lose it. I mean, nowadays everything is digital, right? So.
Yeah, I would agree. And Madam Chair, we have a much more sophisticated way of documenting these things than we did even 5 years ago with our GIS, our cloud permits.
Yeah, and I think it hasn't, I've seen before when we've had shed approvals like this, that we have those conditions in the resolution. So yeah, let's do it that way. You're okay with that? Those two conditions being added?
Yeah, and also to add that it's for personal use, that no business shall be done out of it.
No business.
That's absolutely fine. We can put that in there. But any type of business is not permitted anyways, or it needs a conditional use to come to council. So it's a I would say it's a redundant type of condition.
Okay, so if that's in the condition and say you sold in 5 or 10 years and someone else came in, would that not be withstanding land or not? Or
but what I'm saying is you're not allowed to operate a commercial business on the property anyways. So it's a bit of a moot point. And even if you've added it as a condition and zoning parameters were to change, it's not something that would carry forward. So you deal with whatever the zoning says, and it's a residential area, you cannot have a residential property.
bylaw can buy some running some type of business.
Yeah, the only home-based businesses you can have are home-based things like, you know, you're an accountant or something like that, a home office, that kind of thing. It's not commercial enterprise is what I'm saying.
Woodworking.
Yeah.
Right, Councillor Hitchcock?
No, I'm good with exactly what you said, and putting those points in was fine as far as taking down the other shed and that. So whatever is more cost effective for our applicant makes sense to me.
All right, so back to I guess my original question is how to format the resolution with this. Do you need a couple of minutes?
If we could.
Okay, we'll take a short recess.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, we're back from the recess, and council, any more discussion on this item then before we close the public hearing?
Oh, I'm good.
Okay, hearing none, can I get the resolution please to close the public hearing?
Be it resolved that council close the public hearing of council for variation order 21, 2022, 2390 Bricker Avenue.
Thank you.
Rachel.
Thank you. Seconded. Duval. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
And that's carried. Public hearing is closed. All right, and now the resolution, council's ready to proceed to resolution on this matter?
Be
Be resolved that variation order 21-2022-2390 Bricker Avenue be approved subject to the following conditions. This variance is limited to a maximum building area of 2,500 square feet and height of 22 feet as proposed within this application. Any changes in use, additions, and or replacement may require a new variance approval. 2, applicant owner obtains all required permits from the Red River Planning District and the municipality. 3, applicant owner is limited to 1 accessory structure. No additional accessory structures are allowed beyond what is proposed in this variance. And 4, applicant owner to remove existing shed from the property.
All right, at the resolution, can I get it moved, please, in second?
Councilor Deval, do you have a question?
Yeah, could you go over the last couple of conditions there, please?
Put your mic down, Brett.
The last few conditions, 2 or 3 conditions.
Applicant owner is limited to 1 accessory structure. No additional accessory structures are allowed beyond what is proposed in this variance. Applicant owner to remove existing shed from the property.
Okay. I guess I don't quite understand where the location does or doesn't come into that resolution.
Sure. So the first condition that we always recommend to council is that the application is limited to what has been proposed in the application, and that anything beyond that has to come back to council. So in this case, the applicant has proposed 3 variances: the size, the height, and the location. So instead of just including that standard language, what instead we have said is that the application is, or the variance is limited to just the size and the height.
Okay.
We have not mentioned the location. So you're only approving the size and the height. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand.
Okay.
I guess I'm still not too clear. You're only approving the size and the height. The location is another variance that he applied for. It's applied for, but it has not been approved.
That's what this resolution says.
Okay. So do we not deny that formally, or we just don't include it in the resolution?
No, it's a bit tricky. That's it's not 3 applications. It's just 1 application and 1 resolution that has 3 parts to it that were proposed. So in this, you have just 2 parts that's on the books for approval. You can't separate it out into 3 different resolutions. It's one thing, a package.
Okay, no, I understand what you're saying. It just seems to me that there could be a step missing there, but anyway. I trust your judgment, believe me. So
council wants, I mean, we can always add in at the end of that, we could say, so the variance is limited to the maximum building area of 2,500 square feet, building height of 22 square feet as proposed with this application. Any changes in use, additions, and or replacements may require a new variance of approval. If you want, we can always add in the clarification.
For certainty.
For certain, yeah, for certainty, the variance about location is, you can't say it's not approved.
No, you can't.
The location of the building must be built per the existing East St. Paul zoning bylaws.
Yeah, we could do that too. You could always write down that the location of the accessory building must be placed behind the plane of the house.
That would give clarity, certainty to it. Yeah, we'll give you another minute to do that.
For sure.
But
Okay.
but didn't you cover that by saying that the resident has to come to Red River to get all the proper permits? You wouldn't issue him a permit building it in the front to begin with.
Yeah, that is correct, but I think what Councillor Duval's point was is just because the application did have 3 items, so somebody reading this that isn't privy to our conversations might not be crystal clear this way. adding that condition in here makes it crystal clear that that part of the variance was not supported.
Okay.
Okay, how about this? So condition number 1, the variance is limited to a maximum building area of 2,500 square feet, maximum height of 22 feet, as proposed within this application. Any changes in use, additions, and or replacement may require new variance approval. For certainty, the accessory building must not project beyond the front wall of the house. Is that helpful?
Yep.
Yeah.
Read it again.
Yeah, let's read the whole thing in its entirety again, please. Thank you, Jen.
Be resolved that variation order 21, 2022, 2390 Bricker Avenue be approved subject to the following conditions. This variance is limited to a maximum building area of 2,500 square feet and a height of 22 feet as proposed within this application. Any changes in use, additions, and or replacement may require a new variance approval. For certainty, the accessory building must not project beyond the front wall of the house. 2, applicant owner obtains all required permits from the Red River Planning District and the municipality. 3, applicant owner is limited to 1 accessory structure. No additional accessory structures are allowed beyond what is proposed in this variance. And 4, applicant owner to remove existing shed from the property.
Okay.
I'm good.
We're going to move for a second, please. Moved by Posthumous, second. Duval. Any further discussion? Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
And that's carried.
Other plan B, you need the copies or anything like that, or next. Okay, very good. Thanks for your time, everybody.
Thank you. Good night. All right, so the next public hearing is for variation order 23, and that's at 3949 and 3953 Henderson Highway. I'll get the CAO to read the opening, please, for a public hearing.
Council wishes to thank you for taking an interest in what is happening in your municipality by attending this evening. The purpose of these public hearings is to receive representations from the applicant and any persons who wish to make them concerning what is proposed. We will hear first from the applicant and then from those present who wish to make representations, starting with anyone who wants to speak in favor of the proposal, followed by those who are opposed to or object to the proposal. At the end of these other presentations, the applicant will have an opportunity to respond. If anyone intends to make a presentation, for any of the hearings scheduled for this evening, please record your name and contact information on the appropriate sign-in sheet located at the desk as you enter the council chambers. Applicants must also sign in. If you haven't signed in, please do so now so you have an opportunity to speak to council. At the end of each presentation, the members of council may ask for a clarification from the speaker on any fact or issue, but will not enter into a debate. Persons speaking must address the chair. If they have questions that they think the applicant should answer, they should raise them in their presentation to the chair. The applicants will have an opportunity to respond to questions when the other presentations are finished. If the hearing is not completed today, whether because we run out of time or further information is to be provided, then we will adjourn the hearing. If we adjourn, we will tell you at this hearing the date for the continued public hearing. There will be no notice given of the date. Even if all the representations are completed today, we may not be making our decision today. Until our decision is made, there can be no further communication of any kind with council or the members about the proposal. When council makes its decision, all persons who made a representation at the hearing will be notified. Tonight we have a conditional use and variation. When council makes its decision on the application, it is final and there is no appeal.
Thank you. And if I can get the resolution, please, to open the public hearing.
Be it resolved that council open the public hearing of council for variation order 23, 2022, 3949 and 3953 Henderson Highway.
Thank you. I'm going to move on second, please. Duval, Posthumous, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. And I will now turn the floor over to Red River Planning to walk us through this application.
For variance application BO 23-2022, the applicant is seeking free variances for reduced site width for free newly created lots. I want to tell council this evening that this variance application is kind of tied to a condition of approval for subdivision X2028-27. So this is the variance request table. In the R2 zoning district, the minimum lot width is 150 feet. For proposed lot 1, which was already approved under the said subdivision, the proposed lot 1 is 129.1 feet. Proposed lot 2 48.5 feet, and proposed lot 3 48.5 feet instead of 150. So that's why we're here for this lot variances. This shows the subject property and the surrounding context. This is the subdivision application map that was approved by council in 2020. It shows proposed lot 1, lot 2, and lot 3, and the width on that scenario. Information for council. This is a condition of an already approved subdivision application X2028-72. And aside from the lot width, there are no any other variances associated with this particular that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Council. Any questions for the planner? All right.
I do.
Go ahead.
Okay, it's not a question about the variation as much as why this was not dealt with on the same evening when we did the approval of this in late fall in one of Paul Bell's last days. Because I find this an extra cost to the resident of $4,400 to bring this in front of us. And I know some residents feel that council was doing this as a cash grab. So I took offense to that. So this is why I'm bringing this question up to OG, even though he didn't have part in it, why this was not all in one package on that evening.
Thank you. I'll turn it over to Mr. Eno.
So, Madam Mayor, the application back in, I believe it was summertime of last year when you originally saw this, it was just for the subdivision. It did not include a variance at that time. One of the requirements under the Planning Act is that new lots have to conform with a number of different things, including the zoning bylaw. So you can conform with the zoning bylaw by either meeting the minimum lot widths and sizes, or you can apply for a variance. So that's what was done in this case. Last summer, the variance was not on the table. It wasn't made. The application wasn't made at that time. It was just the subdivision. I understand where the councillor is coming from. We have talked to provincial planning at the province to see if we can't have combined hearings where you can combine the variance and the subdivision, or have some way of just removing that, because I would agree that it seems like a double step of council's already endorsed the subdivision, but now they have to endorse the lot width. But fortunately, those are the cards that were dealt under the Planning Act. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for the planner? Great. So we have two people signed in to speak in support of this application. And I'm not sure if either one or both are the applicants. Thank you. Terry Ludwig?
Yes.
Hi, Terry.
Hi.
Well, thank you. Do you have anything you want us to know about this application that we might not already?
I think it's you, as stated here, you already know basically the application hasn't really changed. So we're just looking to just follow up with Councillor Remuneration was saying, and to Red River Planning. It was sort of our understanding that would be a rubber stamp. essentially for the zoning variation, because it was actually what was in front of council. I guess what I'm, as a citizen, I understand the distinction between the variance and the subdivision. I understand that. I think what I'm maybe having a difficulty with is that when we applied for the subdivision, there was a fee, and it was explained to me, well, the fee is they give it to the 20 government agencies, they can all comment it, and so there seemed to be some sort of it was understandable that there would be that kind of fee. Plus, there was we made a change, and there was another fee. I think and maybe it's maybe the point isn't even important, is that $1,400 per variance for a formality seems a little bit. It's just a little bit odd, considering it was already approved. One thing I would say, in RRPD's defense, in a way, is that when Paul Bell, when he said to me that it would require a variance, he said to me, well, wait, maybe you shouldn't apply for the variance, because if they don't approve the subdivision, you've wasted your money on the variance. So I guess it comes down to when Derek says that their hands are tied, I would ask, are their hands tied to offer a rebate on this one? Like, I understand they have to make the charge, but do they have it in their power to give a rebate for the fee, considering it is a formality?
Thank you. I'll let Mr. speak to the process at Red River for that kind of consideration.
For sure. Staff don't have the power to give a rebate or a discount or a refund or anything like that. So it's set out in the fee bylaw. What is available to you is you can always email my boss, the executive director, Jennifer Ferguson, and bring it to her attention. Apart from that, I will also bring it to her attention, because it is a new year, and our board always revisits the fee bylaws, so we can bring it to their attention as well.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Anyway, other than the application, I hope it stands on its own merits, and the trust that will be.
Thakenhead, did you want to speak to it? You're just in support? Okay. All right. There's nobody else here, nobody online, Suzanne? Thank you. Councillor, are we ready to close the public hearing?
I am.
All right, go ahead, please.
Be it resolved that council close the public hearing of council for variation order 23, 2022, 3949 and 3953 Henderson Highway.
I'll pass that.
Moved by Horechko, seconded by Councillor Duval. Any final discussion? Call for the question, all in favor?
Aye.
And that's carried.
Be it resolved that variation order 23, 2022, 3949 and 3953 Henderson Highway be approved, subject to the following conditions. 1, this variance approval is for the site widths as proposed within this application. And 2, applicant owner obtains all required permits from the Red River Planning District and the municipality.
Thank you. Can I get a mover on this one, please?
I'll move that.
By Horechko, seconded by Duval. Any final discussion? Call for the question, all in favor?
Aye.
And that's carried. That's approved, and your comments will be taken back. There's also 2 members of our council who are on the planning board. So we will ensure that that question, because the point you make specific to this, and this is an anomaly, this doesn't happen very often, but certainly we'll have that conversation. So thank you for that. All right. That's it for our public hearings. Is that it for your business here tonight? Right over time?
So, Mayor, unless council has any questions or needs us.
Oh, we're all good.
I'll phone you.
Thank you for your time, council.
Thank you.
Pass that to Jen.
Oh.
Last time.
Yeah, thank you.
Expensive.
Thank you.
Left here was.
Yes, you're right, it was. Next item we have under our agenda this evening is under bylaws, and the first one is traffic bylaw number 3 for this year. It's slated tonight for second and third reading. So can I get the resolution, please, Red?
Be resolved that bylaw number 2022-03, being a bylaw of the rural municipality of East St. Paul for the regulation of traffic, parking, and the use of streets, roads, and sidewalks, also known as the rural municipality of East St. Paul traffic bylaw, be given second reading.
Thank you. Can I get a mover, please?
Here.
Moved by Duval and Posthumus. We'll open up the floor for any discussion.
No, I think it makes sense.
Hearing none, can we, so we've got the resolution on the floor and this is second reading first? Okay. So first and foremost, we'll vote on second reading. Keep them straight sometimes. Okay, we have the resolutions being moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Call for the question, all in favor?
Aye.
It's carried. For the third and final reading, please.
Be it resolved that bylaw number 2022-03, being a bylaw of the rural municipality of East St. Paul for the regulation of traffic, parking, and the use of streets, roads, and sidewalks, also known as the rural municipality of East St. Paul traffic bylaw, be given third reading.
Thank you. I need a mover and seconder. Duval and Posthumus. Any further discussion? Call for the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Next item is the senior elections officer appointment and remuneration bylaw, and this is a first reading. Are there any questions in regards to this? All right, can we get the resolution read, please?
Be it resolved that bylaw number 2022-05, being a bylaw of the rural municipality of East St. Paul to appoint and to fix and provide for the remuneration of a senior election official and other election positions, also known as the rural municipality of East St. Paul SEO appointment and remuneration bylaw, be given first reading.
Thank you. Can I get a mover and seconder? Duval? Posthumus? Any discussion? Call for the question, all in favor?
Aye.
That's carried. And the third bylaw is the use of municipal resources in an election bylaw. This is also first reading. Any questions on this one, which stems from the province of Manitoba's Bill 25 requiring this bylaw? Resolution, please.
Be it resolved that bylaw number 2022-04, being a bylaw of the rural municipality of East St. Paul to establish rules and procedures for the use of municipal resources during the 42-day period before a general municipal election or by-election, also known as the municipal resources in an election bylaw, be given first reading.
Thank you. I'll move this to a second. Val, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
That's carried. We move to under general business administration. We have the date for board of revision. A resolution, please.
Whereas section 41(1) of the Municipal Assessment Act states a board shall sit each year for the purpose of hearing applications for revision under section 42. Therefore, be it resolved that council set the 2022 board of revision for the 2023 assessment rolls for October 6, 2022 at 5:30 p.m. as outlined in option A of the request for decision presented at the March 22nd, 2022 council meeting.
Mover and seconder, please. Posthumus. And Duval? I thought I could beat you there, Horachko. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's carried. And the next item is a kennel license for 305 Terrence Place.
Be resolved that council approve a dog kennel license for Dahai Young of 305 Terrence Place for a total of 4 dogs as per the Arm of East St. Paul Dog Bylaw number 2003-12.
Thank you. Could I get a mover and seconder?
I'll move it.
Horachko and Duval, discussion?
Yes. This resident hasn't moved in yet.
No, they have not.
Dogs haven't been there yet.
No.
So the neighbors have no idea what's coming. Dogs can be 2 things, more than 2 things, I guess, but one is noise and the other is if they're not cleaned up after them in the backyard, can get a little smelly. I'm not suggesting this is going to happen, but this is what can happen and what usually brings on complaints about dogs. It's premature, this application, in my opinion.
I can speak to that. I can speak to that. The property owner who has taken possession of this property, while they haven't moved in yet, they're trying to be proactive prior to moving in. They want to be assured that they can have their 4 dogs on the property with them. Obviously, they don't want to leave a dog behind. My understanding is that one of the dogs that they do own is older. Life expectancy, of course, I can't say for sure, but they did mention that the one dog was older and potentially might not be around for a substantial amount of time. That's, of course, speculation. But what we found is dog owners who are proactive generally look after their animals very well and maintain that they're not voicey or loud or anything like that. In past, what we've noticed is if somebody has purchased a house and they move in with, say, 4 dogs, as an example, and they don't ask for the permitting beforehand, generally their dogs are loud and kind of rule the roost per se. In applications like this, where we see the application beforehand, we tend to see that the dogs are better looked after in regards.
Yeah, well, no, I understand, but it's still that's what you're hoping for, and I believe you, but it hasn't been experienced, and they can move in with the dogs and apply for a license, and by the time that runs through the course of the process, some experience has been gained by the neighborhood.
Is the kennel license renewable at all?
Yes.
How often?
Yearly. Suzanne's yearly, correct? Yeah.
So this license would have to come back in front of council? Because I don't remember seeing repeats.
No. Once it's approved, then the applicant would come back in and they would pay for the fee of it,
Yep.
But they wouldn't come back before council.
So there's no scrutiny of their application. Again,
No.
They're basically paying a fee. So to Councillor Duval's concern is, let's say they did move in, they were all loud. If we grant the application, there's no recourse if the dogs, well, if they misbehave, we have animal control.
We do have animal control that would manage it on that aspect.
Is it possible to revoke a kennel license?
I believe we could, yes. I'd have to go back through our bylaw and double check how that reads, but I believe it is a possibility. I don't know the correct wording off the top of my head, but I do believe there is an aspect in that bylaw that would permit it. Council could always rescind the resolution permitting it as well.
If there was
a concern that bylaw wasn't able to take care of from their end, then council could revoke that resolution. So you do have the ability to pull that resolution from it, which would then pull that kennel license.
Isn't that a little bit cumbersome as opposed to just saying, move in and in 2 or 3 weeks you must apply for a license and then we'll deal with it straightforward?
I mean, if council wishes, you could table the resolution for 2 months and see if there's any calls or complaints put in. The owner of the property is just simply trying to be ahead of the game and to be legally licensed to have their 4 dogs on the property with them.
Right, now I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
But from our point of view, we have to have some experience with this situation, in my opinion.
I'm not sure if it's always been, just trying to recall, we don't get lots of these, but we've had a fair sampling, but I don't recall, first of all, this question ever coming up previously, because often people don't, I guess we're thinking that people already have a couple of dogs and they're adding to it. So we're basically have some experience with other dogs, but they could get a 4th dog that's really loud anyhow and kind of tips the balance of the, the behavior of the animals. So probably every time we're doing this, we are taking that leap of faith, and maybe we should just take a look at our bylaw to see if that needs to be reviewed, not just paid annually, but a review just to double check with our animal services to make sure that there haven't been complaints and there's not any ongoing issues. Might be a good thing to get added to our processes.
We can look at updating that to reflect that.
All right, any other comments?
Well, no, not really. The only comment I have is we need to do something with cats. Because we've got some properties that have almost a dozen cats, and there seems to be nothing that we can do about it.
Great. Any other questions on this one?
No, with both Councillor DeVal and Reg, I think it's something we should look at also. And yeah, I've heard about some yards with like a dozen cats too, so they can be just as smelly as the dogs. We have got them before where they had for a 3rd dog. This is 4 dogs. So it's on Terrence. I don't know how small the lot is there. I have 2 dogs, but I have 1.5 acres.
We all know the previous resident. He was a frequent flyer in council chambers.
Oh, all right. And so, yeah, I'm fine with Councillor DeVal's.
He's watching later. Hi, John.
I'm fine with this request if we wanted to table it. I'm fine with that, but if not,
it's to your mention of the lot size, it's 0.39 of an acre.
Yeah, big yard.
And the applicant, just to clarify, the applicant has advised that they will be putting up a fence to maintain their animals inside their yard.
Right. Got the resolution on the floor? It's been moved and seconded. No further comments. We'll call for the question. Is everybody ready?
Sure.
Proceed.
did we need a second? I can't.
It was moved and seconded, okay. Yes.
It's on the floor. So no further comments then. I'll call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that is carried. Next item is tax sale agreement. Please.
Be it resolved that council approve the tax sale agreement for roll number 16800-304 Wallace Avenue. And be it further resolved that the mayor and chief administrative officer be authorized to sign the agreement on behalf of the municipality.
Thank you. Can I get a mover and seconder, please?
Here.
Duval? Hart? Discussion? Question, all in favor?
Aye.
And that's carried. Next items are under our operations. The first is the 2023 Scotties Tournament of Hearts. Previously, staff had brought forward an agreement, and it has been updated per council comments and brought again before us. So I'll get the resolution, please, first to put it on the table.
Be it resolved that council approves the terms and conditions of the 2023 Scotties Tournament of Hearts agreement between the Arm of East St. Paul and the East St. Paul Curling Club as outlined in option A of the request for decision presented at the March 22nd, 2022 council meeting. And be it further resolved that the chief administrative officer be authorized to sign the agreement on behalf of the municipality.
Thank you. Can I get a mover and seconder, please?
Aye.
Parachko and Duval. And I'll open it up for discussion. I did have one item. I did contact the office yesterday just to follow up, and that was on number 8 under the RM's responsibilities. It indicated that we were to verify the RM of East St. Paul insurance on East St. Paul Arena is sufficient for hosting the Scotties provincial champs. And I was just kind of, if not, what would be our further obligation? But I think we have an update on that.
We do have an update on that. We've been, Curtis reached out to our insurance provider and was able to provide the information that they required. And the insurance provider has gotten back to us and stated that the RM has sufficient insurance coverage to host the Scotties Tournament of Hearts. So there's no concerns from their end.
Okay, so do we want to read this number? I'm sorry, reword this number 8 then to reflect that information?
Yeah, we can reword that to read.
Want to take 2 minutes just to reword it before you and Jen, before you often do that, well, we'll do one thing at a time. Sorry, go ahead and do that.
Okay, I have it as the RM of East St. Paul shall carry the insurance on the East St. Paul Arena for hosting of the Scotties Provincial Championships.
Can you repeat that one more time, please, Jen?
The RM of East St. Paul shall carry the insurance on the East St. Paul Arena for hosting the Scotties Provincial Championships.
Okay. Council okay with that amendment?
Mm-hmm.
Great. Wait, were there any other questions in regards to this agreement?
Go ahead.
Yeah, just a confirmation here. The RM has agreed to, and I just wonder what this really means. We cover all costs.
Which number is it, Brian?
Hmm?
Which number, which point?
The RM has agreed to, and it's a technical kind of question. Cover all costs of upgrading the ice plant to 60 tons for 14 hours a day. And then I guess detuning it back to 49 tons on the other 10 hours a day. $6,000. What's involved with moving it, changing it from 49 to 60 tons? It's a speed up, isn't it, with a Chev? Or?
Yeah, from a technical perspective, what's involved, I can't answer that offhand. I could certainly get that information for you. What is involved in terms of the RM's involvement is once the upgrade is in place, then the engineer has to be the plant engineer has to be on site and available on site.
Yes.
But what actually has to be physically done to the ice plant itself, I can't tell you offhand. I could certainly get you that information and forward it after this meeting.
I believe it's a change of speed, RPM of the compressor, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, that could well be.
Yeah.
Sir Pastor.
Yeah, on the $15,000 on staff availability day-to-day tournament operations, it says and takedown. Is that just the basic stuff? I'm guessing because they're putting in the bleachers and the floor and that type of thing, right? So this is just cleanup of daily cleanup of garbage and sweeping and our staff being there.
Precisely.
It's not us putting the bleachers up.
No.
Using any of our equipment.
No. Correct.
No other questions?
Just sorry, I had two. I made a note and I forgot. It says East St. Paul Curling Club has outlined financial.
Which number are you on there?
It's on mine here. It's on page 2 or 3. It just said they've outlined financial commitments of $65,500. So the curling club has to put in $65,000.
That's the value of their commitments. That's the value of the curling club's commitments.
Okay.
Yep. All right, no further questions?
I'm good.
For me? Sorry, what did you say, Horst?
I'm good.
Okay, thank you.
He said,
We have the resolution on the floor.
Yes.
And it's being moved and seconded. Okay, no further discussion? Call for the question, all in favor?
Aye.
And that's carried. And if you're following the curling news, I'm not sure we even have a team there anymore.
Not sure if they'll be at East St. Paul anymore.
Right, we have 2 people from Team Flurry that are banding together with 2 people from Team Jones, creating a new team, and we don't know where they're gonna curl, but there's lots of movement in curling, boy, this
We're all over.
this spring, yeah.
Olympic year.
Across Canada, it's all changing, so yeah. We're still happy to have the Scotties here, and it's gonna be wonderful for the. All right, next item, the Marconi Trail Node Development. I'm not sure, so do you, yeah, you have a resolution for this, yeah, of course.
Be it resolved that the Marconi Trail Node Development Project be awarded to J&D Penner for the cost of $144,814.50, as outlined in option 1 of the request for decision presented at the March 22nd, 2022 council meeting.
Great, thank you. Now, I don't know if council just wants to ask questions, or if I would say if you want to provide any overview, or if Mr. Wardrop is, whatever.
He would.
Kind of a little bit more of a complex
it is, yes.
item. So instead of just kind of throwing it out there, I'm not sure if you want to do any kind of intro.
Oh, we certainly can. I would turn the floor over to Dave.
Sure, thank you. So we, as you're aware, we had a design proposal that we took to tender, and we did receive a pair of bids back. Both of them came in substantively over budget, and so the lowest of the 2 was at $375,000, where we had budgeted $150,000, or I believe $149,000. So essentially, we're proposing 4 different options. The first is a scaled down project that would fall within the budget amount. It involves installing the entranceway and the pillars and paving bricks and some trees around the entranceway, and then a scaled no node would be constructed at the soccer complex or baseball complex, and a scaled down node would be constructed at Birds Hill School, and it would involve 1 overhead shelter, a scaled down area of paving stone, and 2 benches. Option 2 is essentially the same. It involves 2 shelters at the Birds Hill School, 1 over each bench, and it would require an increase to the budget from $144,000 or $149,000 to essentially $180,000. Option C is to go with the design, the proposed as design, and the bid amount for that was $375,951. And option 4 would be to not award the project and to consider some other some design alternatives that some different design alternatives to be considered, I guess we could come up with, or otherwise. So The disadvantage of postponing and going back to the driving board is the existing grant that has been awarded from Trails Manitoba would then be lost, the $33,000 grant, of course. So proceeding with construction of the other two, we're optimistic that we'll still be able to utilize the $33,000 grant. So I guess that's how we would, or that's essentially what we would propose in terms of some alternatives. If option one is the recommended option, really because it provides trail improvements within the budget allocated by council. So for that reason, it's a fit within budget. But certainly there's good reason to council to make it so to come to a resolution of any of the other three options as well.
All right, I'll open up the floor then for any questions or comments. Councillor DeVille.
Yeah, I have a serious concern about how this whole project evolved and carried on. We hired a consultant to design something nice for us, put it out there, dazzled everybody, and looked quite extravagant to me, and I think it did to everybody else, even without looking at the dollars. But it looked like an overdone project in my mind. We don't need another legacy project like this. These are only rest stops for cyclists and pedestrians along the way. And the consultant who designed it gave us an estimate cost of $175,000 or $180,000 or something like that. And then, yes, there's a $30,000 grant. Okay, so the cost 180, call it 180 round numbers. That's what the consultant said, and we thought that was quite. Most of us anyway thought that was expensive, but take 30 off of that, and the proposal came to council. Well, now the bid comes in at 375, from 180 to 375. Does that consultant know what the hell they're doing? Pardon my language. But when I hear something like that coming from a consultant, I say, what are they doing? I mean, consultants are known to underestimate projects just to make them more attractive. You got to expect that. You can understand that. But to get numbers this far out it's quite astounding in my mind. You know, when you look at some of the details, why these gabion benches full of rocks and things, those things can't be cheap. And then interlocking stone in a circle. You know how much time it takes to build interlocking stone in a circle compared to a rectangle? It's a tremendous a lot more of cost to that. And again, the purpose of this is not to make something real fancy that we a showpiece. These are rest stops, and I would like to ask administration if. And I think we asked this before, but I don't think we ever got an answer. The city of Winnipeg has very functionable, attractive benches along that very same path. The first one is about 50 feet over the border into Winnipeg. That is put there. How much did that cost? There's probably a nameplate on it. You can find out from the manufacturer, but I don't know if that was ever looked at. And also, I don't know if any other options were sought after. I think this whole project has to be brought right back to zero, retrenched, and start all over again on a much more modest scheme, checking out what's available, not just by the people who manufactured the bench in Winnipeg, but there are a number of companies, we see them all the time at the recreation conferences, that can provide this type of equipment along the path. Benches, some fancy, some very plain, whatever you want. But we don't have to go to a consultant at great expense to custom design something that is right out of the question for cost. And here we are, we're trying to make pare down the volume, if you will, of the benches just to match the dollars. And one of the things that doesn't make sense to me is that we take this budgeted number that was presented the other day for $149,000, and then we go to the single source contractor and say, what can you do for us for $149,000? That's a backwards way of doing it. You're not getting any competition, you know? So there's all kinds of reasons why I just cannot support this where it stands. We have to go back to the beginning.
Yeah, I agree with Councillor Deval at that point. The amounts, I believe the amounts when I had asked do not even include the design fee, the fees that the consultant's going to have for looking after the project. This is the cost just from the landscaping person, consultant fees. So there'd be another 15 or possibly 20% up top that the consultant would have to do this project. At Trails meeting, I had brought forward, I think it was AP Projects. They make very nice benches. They're reclaimed. They're a green company. They're graffiti free. They're a lounger with a roof. They have cup holders. And because they're reclaimed plastic, they're very, very heavy. You can't just pick them up and take them away. They were, I believe, in the $1,800 range. You know, for $144,000 now, we're going to get one bench at the school where there was going to be 4, and none at the soccer complex where there were going to be.
Or the baseball.
I mean the baseball soccer complex. So 144 grand and we get one bench with a roof. Yeah, I can support it. As for the grant, I think if we went after some nice benches, we just put the, you know, Wayne's tree removal or any of these Shelmerdine and any of these tree companies can come and put trees in. We have a tree budget that was separate. That got added to this. We could still put trees in those areas, put some benches in, and I'm sure they would check to see if we can use up that grant money for the benches and get something done.
I don't know.
And if we don't, then we just reapply. We're applying now for a grant on the trail for entrances. Maybe they'll let us use this for that instead. But yeah, $375,000 without the consultant fees. We're going to be $450,000. I can't support this. I would be at option 4.
I'll keep my comments shorter, as Councillor Deval and Councillor Posthumus basically said everything, and I'm prepared to look at option 4, and we go back to the drawing boards and we come back with something that just is going to make more sense, and that's it. So I'm for option 4.
Thank you. Mr. Wardrop or CEO, do either of you have any idea what happens to the grant, the timing of it?
Yeah, I think it expires sometime this summer. I think June or July is correct. I think I don't have the exact date, but I think that's correct. Realistically, I think it would be optimistic to try to have anything in place. This contract expires, or the bids expire on this contract on March 24th, which is Thursday. So we need a decision on this contract today. The chances of coming up with sort of an acceptable design, procurement, and installation before the expiration of the grant would probably be optimistic.
Thank you. It's
would probably be maybe overly optimistic.
Yeah, so if we turn it down tonight, I'm just wondering from a standpoint of, okay, I'll back up my thoughts a little bit. So I was in favor of this design and this project. I supported the work of the Trails Committee, and unfortunately the chair of our Trails Committee isn't here tonight. Councillor Devlin wasn't able to make it, and Councillor Postumus is the other member of our Trails Committee, and I supported the initiative. A little shocking to see the price difference. I don't think anybody anticipated that. So I'm a little conflicted because I really did appreciate the design to it. And I will say that I am more in favor of doing something on that trail that's a little bit more than putting down just kind of stock benches out of a catalog type of thing. So I was in support of doing something interesting along the trail, much like Winnipeg did. They kind of made it a train theme, and they, you know, the benches are have train themes, and it's a little bit of an overhead, and they spent some money on their trail and put in their installations. So I was in support of that. I'm somewhere, I think, in the middle. I certainly having a hard time looking at the high numbers for the whole project. I did look a little bit at just because of the importance of our trails and people's appreciation for them. It is our key trail. Hodnot and that trail are the two. This one has the potential to build because there's not a road and houses kind of confining it, and so there's lots of room in the buffer around it. And I did look at some of our numbers that we have right now in our reserve funds, because, and I know Councillor, and I'm sorry, Councillor Devlin again, she's not with us tonight, but one of the things she brought up before was the money that we take from developers for parklands and for spending their money on parks for the community in the fees we charge. We've got a parkland dedication of over $500,000. We have a Parks and Rec reserve of $1.4 million. We have a beautification account of $210,000 and an active transportation reserve of 141. And these numbers are a little different because I got some updated ones, but I didn't jot them down here. So we've got substantial funds. So I'm not about I would say cutting the costs on this project in total. I really liked and appreciated the design of this, and I'm very perplexed by the difference in the pricing. And we only got 2 bids. One of the bids is so high. To me, that's almost like a non-bid. It's like someone threw out the number hoping it might stick, and you know, if nobody else bid, they might get the job. So I'm not sure how competitive these bids were, or if people just have so much work that they don't really want the work, but you know what, if they get it, they get it. I feel more comfortable about the bidding process if we had 5 bids or 4 bids or 5 bids, then I would have a better sense of what this value, and that's what I'm kind of stuck on, is I don't really know what the value of this project is without, I think it's well known, people in our area know that government RFPs don't always get the best deals. You know, they're not always trimming the corners. So I'm hesitant to throw this out, and I'd certainly, I feel bad that the chair of this committee isn't here to speak for it as well. So I would be reticent to throw it out, but hearing what Mr. Wardrop says about the grant, I'm sorry about the bid. We only have 2 days to make that decision. So hearing my colleagues are not going to be supporting it, I think it's a moot point for the purposes of this bid. My concern is the grant, and hopefully the Trails Committee can get together to try to come up with some solution. But I think East St. Paul residents in our community deserves better than just some catalog benches being put down and some trees. I think it needs to be planned. I think it needs to be aesthetically interesting and have some value. It doesn't have to be a legacy project, but we clearly have taken money from developers for these projects, for parks and these kinds of things. We know our trails are getting a lot of use. So I'd really like just to see some further thought go into this before we throw this potential project out in thinking that we may not have got very competitive bids. So we lose a great project because the market right now is just not ready for this.
I have a final comment. I disagree with you because we did not get people bidding on it. Does not mean anything that people are too busy. It's just that kind of project. And we still want to do something on the trail, just not to this, magnitude. And because we have money in the bank does not mean we have to spend it on silliness. And that's what this is like fluff. This is a little too extravagant. A rest stop is a rest stop. It doesn't have to be something fancy. We go over budgets on administration and we pick out things and we say, well, no, and then we're doing something like this and we want to just blow the bank. Option 4 and back to the drawing board, we come up with something. Just because we're getting a $33,000 grant doesn't mean we have to spend bad money against that. So anyway, that's it.
Any further discussion?
No, I agree with Councilor Retchko on that. Just because we need 32,000, we don't have to spend 100 or 4 consultant fees per day. For 144,000, we end up with 1 bench at the school. That's a lot of money.
So just for clarity on that one, Charles, the project, I think there's 4 different ones here.
I just, yeah, it's 140, option 1
so
to 140.
It's the entry node at Glenway, paving stone, gabion pillars and trees, the Birds Hill School node at a reduced size, including paving stone, 2 gabion benches and 1 gabion wood shelter and 12 trees. It's not just,
that's 1 shelter over 2 benches.
Yep.
Sorry, we lose the other whole side.
Yeah, no, I was just clarifying.
It's still $50,000 benches. Okay.
Yep. Any further discussion?
No.
All right. We've got it on the table. Ken, what was the resolution? Was for option A?
It read, be it resolved that the Marconi Trail Node project be awarded to J&D Penner for the cost of $144,814.50, as outlined in option 1 of the request for decision presented at the March 22nd, 2022 council meeting.
All right. So option A is the resolution.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion? I'll call for the
sorry, I do need a mover and seconder. I don't have that yet.
I thought we did that.
No, we did not.
Okay.
Jumped right into the kind of the opening. Yes.
I missed the resolution at the front.
Well, we kind of jumped into the discussion of it to begin with, and
without the item on the table. Okay, so for my purposes, read it once more for me.
Be it resolved that the Marconi Trail Node Development Project be awarded to J&D Penner for the cost of $144,814.50, as outlined in option 1 of the request for decision presented at the March 22nd, 2022 council meeting.
Thank you.
I'll move that.
Thank you. Moved by Horechko, seconded by Duval. Any further discussion? Call for the question. All in favor? Opposed?
Opposed.
And that is defeated. And Jen, jump in if I forget to get that resolution. 7 years of doing it one way dies hard. All right, next item is on the leased vehicles. Are there any questions on this? Oh, sorry, resolution, please.
Be it resolved that council authorize the Parks, Recreation and Facilities Department to source out 2 leased vehicles up to a maximum of $15,000 plus GST as part of the 2022 operating budget. And be it further resolved that the Director of Infrastructure Services be authorized to sign the vehicle lease agreements on behalf of the municipality.
Thank you.
I'll move that.
Moved by Horechko, seconded by, I'll second it, Hart. Any discussion? Call for the question. Sorry, go ahead, Horst.
No, I'm good.
Okay, call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
And that's carried. Under Earth Day, we have, under general, we have Earth Day 2022 participation. Resolution, please.
Whereas Earth Day Canada 2022 will be celebrated on April 22nd, 2022. Therefore, be it resolved that the Arm of East St. Paul participate in Earth Day 2022 and distribute digital media promotions in support of this event.
Thank you. I'll move it. Second, Posthumous. Any discussion?
Brian wants mud wrestling.
Isn't that what it is?
I'll call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
And that's carried. No business arising. Other correspondence. There is just animal services reports in our agendas for information. Our in-camera was removed. So unless I'm missing something, that's the end of our agenda.
Correct.
All right, for adjournment, please.
Be it resolved that the meeting be adjourned, the time being 7:37 p.m.
Mover, please. Duval and her Duval and Posthumous. All in favor?
Aye.
And that's carried. Hi, Dorst.